opportunity to acknowledge that we've had some special guests appear in the gallery. I'm sure to hear a really excellent contribution from the member for Elizabeth. We have got Senator Marielle Smith from the Federal Government of Australia. Welcome, Marielle, again. The Honourable Lee Stevens, former member for Elizabeth from 1994 to 2006, and of course Little Para from 2006 to 2010. Welcome, Lee, you're always very welcome here. As former Minister for Health, if my memory is correct. Chantel Carlson, the Deputy Mayor for the City of Playford. We've got Josh Peake, the Secretary of the SDA, and Jordan Mumford, the Assistant Secretary of the SDA. The Honourable Emily Burke from the other place, and the Honourable Hilton Gumbies from the other place has also ducked in. And if I've missed anyone, I apologise. You're all important members of the gallery today for this special occasion where all members will provide the respect and dignity for the new member on the occasion of her first speech, and we will all listen in silence. The member for Elizabeth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations on your elevation. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of this land, the Kaurna people. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I rise today to speak for the first time in this House as a young, outspoken, determined woman, which according to my family is exactly how I've always been. I've never been very good at sitting quietly when something needs to be said. I call things as I see them, and I care deeply about the people I represent. And while I may not always be the quietest voice in the room, I hope to always be an authentic one. I rise today as the youngest member in the 56th Parliament. In fact, the father of the House, member for West Torrens, has been in public office longer than I've been alive. And it is his wisdom that I take great pride in learning from, in learning how to best represent my community of Elizabeth. Elizabeth is where my husband, Scott, and I call home. It's where I found community again after leaving our country town as teenagers over a decade ago. I grew up in the Yorke Peninsula, where community means everything, where it isn't about putting yourself first, it's about your friends, your neighbours, and your teammates. Born and raised in Wallaroo, a town where everyone knows everyone's business, where your neighbour rolled your bin in for you, where you attended every local funeral because that's the respectful thing to do, where you played netball against your English teacher. A community, and at the beating heart of that community was two things: the local footy club and the local primary school. I stand here proudly as part of a government that took to the election a commitment to make public education free. I'm a public school kid, proudly a public school kid throughout my entire education. Beginning at Wallaroo Primary School under the amazing leadership of Mr. Brenton Lamshed, this school was at the heart of our community. Growing up, my parents worked incredibly hard. Our parents fought for a good life for their children, and that fight was passed down on us. Our first home sat quietly in a street amongst holiday shacks, a 2-bedroom transportable that my parents were proud to call home. Sat in the backyard was a bright yellow cubby house that my mum had hand-painted with giant flowers all over. We weren't rich in wealth by any means, but we were rich in life. Our home was one of warmth, laughter, and love. We were blessed with the most selfless parents who put everyone else's needs before their own. And that's why, at 6 months pregnant with my sister and already dealing with an 18-month-old, my parents saw an advertisement for an organisation called Time for Kids. And that's where our family's foster journey began. Every school holidays, my sister Ruby and I would stand at the local petrol station in Wallaroo, hand in hand, waiting excitedly for Emily to arrive on the Premier Stateliner. As children, we were so excited to have a special visitor every school holidays for over a decade. But as an adult, I realised the profound impact that Emily had on our lives and the lessons we learned of adversity through hardship. It was this decision that my parents made when I was barely 2 that instilled an empathy that would live on in me for the rest of my life. Sandy and Bodgie were always focused on giving back to their community, and give back they did. My mum was on the hospital board, whilst my dad was the president of the governing council, and this was just after work. On the weekends, Mum managed the netball canteen, whilst Dad coached my netball team, the Mighty Bulldogs. and red, white and blue has always run through my veins. My Papa Bill was a mad footy fan. When he wasn't managing farms across the mid-north, he was watching local footy and mentoring local talent, and boy did he love his Central District Footy Club. We grew up knowing that there was only one SANFL team in our family, and that was the Doggies. One of my first meetings as a candidate was with Clinton Zarella and Greg Edwards at the Centrals. Everyone knew my Papa Bill at that club. He was a country recruiter for Centrals, scouting the next new generational talent. Today, there's a trophy in his name at the club, the Bill Hosking Perpetual Trophy. Meeting with Clinton and Greg was one of the proudest days of my life. To sit in that tavern again, but this time with the prospect of representing my community. Knowing the pride that my grandfather would have felt, sitting in those stands again, I knew I was home, and that's exactly what Clinton said, welcome home. I left home at 17 with my high school sweetheart Scott, two country kids moving to the big smoke. We both went to Kadina Memorial School, and in my final years of high school, I went through some intense online bullying. Social media became a frenzy. Kids were no longer playing basketball or handball, but rather posting on Instagram and sending Snapchats. And online bullying that I'd experienced led to needing to involve the local police. This is the very reason why I'm so pleased that this government banned social media for children under 16, so that kids can go home to their safe place. The relentless bullying doesn't follow them through social media because kids deserve to be kids again. And after some difficult final years in high school, working towards my dream of studying in university was what kept me going. I worked at a local fish and chip shop from the age of 14 to save up for my first car, the car that would take me to the city. At 17, my dream became a reality. My Nana Ros was unable to finish high school as she needed to go to work to support her family. No one in my family had graduated from university, and it was something that seemed entirely out of reach. 2 generations later, I would be the first in our family to do so, taking the Gawler line into the city every day. I chose to study law with a deep desire to make people's lives better. It meant I had to work full-time to be able to afford to study. I initially picked up a job in retail, but needing more hours, I started working at a swim school, teaching a vital life skill. Studying law had begun to lose its spark, and I was struggling to see the impact of the work that I could have in people's lives. I wanted to fast-track my law degree so I could start actually making a difference. So I decided to do a parliamentary internship led by my university lecturer, Jessie Byrne. And I later found out that she was the daughter of Molly Byrne, a hero of our movement. I reached out to a newly elected Honourable Emily Burke from the other place. And in one coffee in the Legislative Council lounge, she had convinced me that the difference that I was hoping to make was with her in the Australian Labor Party. I was her first intern, and she was my first mentor. Emily took a chance on a fellow Yorke Peninsula girl and taught me everything that she knows when it comes to campaigning, something that I'm forever grateful for. I finished my internship and moved on to the most important role that I've held until this day, a union organiser at the Shop Distributive and Allied Employees Association. My dad had always been a member of his union for 40 years, and my grandfather Davo instilled those values in him, having worked on the railways. Being a unionist ran in the family. Every day as a union organiser was fulfilling, fighting for working people, advocating every day for some of the state's most vulnerable workers. I had the privilege of running the first ever free and safe car parking campaign, and today, workers and customers across major Adelaide shopping centres can park for free thanks to the SDA campaign and the Malinauskas government. I've worked on many other special campaigns across the union, but none more special to me than the Udunda Farmers campaign. There was a day in 2021 that I'll remember forever. It was a day that shaped how I see the Labor movement. It was the day that I met Helen. Helen was a fruit and veg manager at a regional supermarket, though she was employed as a casual. Her father had always taught her that an honest day's work deserves an honest day's pay, and she carried that belief with her every day. Helen was in her 60s when I met her, and she told me that she'd recently lost her husband, Brett, to brain cancer. Due to being casual, she had to take unpaid leave to support him during his treatment. When she lost Brett, she had to return to work. She was grieving a profound loss, yet still working incredibly hard for a company that she had trusted. As life often does, everything seemed to happen all at once. Her hot water system had just broken, and she was struggling financially after Brett's passing. Helen and I stood together on the back dock, both in tears, as she shared everything that she'd been through. I listened to a woman whose strength was undeniable, even in the midst of heartbreak. I told Helen that she was likely being underpaid and that we would represent her. She could hardly believe that after 2 decades of dedication and hard work, the company that she'd given her all to had taken advantage of her. But thanks to Helen's courage and her decision to stand up for what she deserved, she's been successful in recovering her underpayment. And I called Helen this week in preparation for today. It was the first time that we'd spoken since that day back on the back dock 5 years ago. She told me that the work we had done that day changed her life. But what Helen didn't know is that she had changed mine. Advocating for workers was one of the most fulfilling jobs that I've ever had. And standing here today in the chamber sharing Helen's story is a reminder of why I'm here. To ensure that workers like Helen are never treated like that again. I thank the SDA for the honour of representing workers across South Australia and in the North. Thank you to my mentor and friend, Josh Peake. Your ambition is infectious. Your belief, faith and trust is always treasured. How lucky am I to have learnt from your leadership for so many years. To Jordan Mumford, to have walked this journey with you side by side is a privilege. To share a strong and stubborn friendship and to consider you, Jane and Georgie, family is an honour. To Tom Carrick-Smith, the first person that I called after meeting Helen for the first time. Sharing a mutual and deep passion for the change that we were able to achieve together, you always taught me to stop and reflect on the difference that we had made. To my friends at the union, Ali, Mario, Jen, Sam, Steph, Sean, Alison, Noah, Millie, Lisa, Zoe, Kayla and Sim, thank you. But the advocating didn't stop there. I've had the great honour to work across state and federal government, advocating for South Australian businesses, families and organisations, working with my dear friend, the member for Taylor. I've had many fond memories working with you and getting to know Fiona and Lou. Travelling around South Australia, interstate and occasionally internationally, promoting the best of South Australia in trade and investment. Learning from his passion for well-planned cities, just like the city he was born in, Elizabeth. I look forward to working together, this time for our North. I've spent plenty of time running and working across many campaigns, including for the member for Adelaide, a guru in local campaigns, a special friend, and the best wedding celebrant. Working with Federal Minister Amanda Rishworth, one of the hardest working local MPs I've ever had the privilege of working with. She wrote in her maiden speech of the tapestry that tied community together, and the Honourable Emily Burke from the other place wrote of a fabric. I find it fitting today that I stand under the most meaningful tapestry and fabric in this chamber, the one that reads, "A woman's place is in the house, this house." I reflect on a time when Molly Burns stood ready for her caucus photo amongst a sea of male colleagues. To stand here today with so many strong and empathetic women is something I'm so proud of, and I know Molly Byrne would be as well. But the only reason I have the privilege of being in this chamber is because of my community, the people of Elizabeth, where I live, where I hope to one day raise a family, a community with more fight than any other. Elizabeth celebrated its 70th anniversary late last year. The City of Elizabeth was built by the South Australian Housing Trust, a home for working families, an industrial hub. It's hard to reflect on the northern suburbs without thinking about Holden's, a community built on hard work and fighting spirit. It's where my great-grandparents Terry and Rosie lived in Elizabeth East. It's where my Auntie Kath, Uncle Graham and Auntie Vicky still call home. Our community organisations are second to none, and I'm proud to work with many of them every week. I'm a proud Lions member, not the youngest, surprisingly, for the Elizabeth Playford Lions Club, under the leadership of the formidable Donna Marie. I have developed many special friendships with many members of that club, but particularly Mr. Alan Robinson, a nearly 90-year-old gentleman in every meaning of the word. Alan moved to Australia with his wife Maureen in the 70s, which he says was the best decision he ever made. They found their home in Elizabeth, and he was a teacher at several local schools until he was 78. I learn from Alan in every conversation I have with him, and he recently said to me, "If you're not learning, then you're dead." And I hope to continue to learn from Alan and each of the Lions Club members. Working together with the Elizabeth Rotary Club, led by Shirley and Mark, and I recently became an active member and look forward to continue working together for our community. Working with Christine and the amazing volunteers at the Midway Road Community House to deliver a safe and welcoming space for our community. I'm honoured to work with these community groups. My community is one of the youngest electorates in our state. Young families looking to get back to work, and more families can thanks to 3-year-old preschool. Young families looking to enter the housing market, with a government focused on housing growth and making it easier for young families. And to build these homes, we need tradies. Tradies like my husband, Scott, a local plumber. Like my brothers, Dylan, Jack, and Grady, a sparky, a mechanic, and a roofer. And under this government, we've seen a massive increase in apprenticeship commencements in South Australia, double the national average. We're building 3 new technical colleges and 1 close to home in Gawler. Trades have always been important to me, and with a government focused on building South Australia, we need trades more than ever. There's only one party who puts the needs of workers first, and only one party who puts the North first. That's the South Australian Labor Party. And I congratulate our Secretary, Eamon Burke, on another fantastic election win. I've had the privilege of working with Eamon for many years. I thank you and the team at Party Office, to Eamon for always ensuring that I had a seat at the table and always treating me as an equal. To my comrades Hamish and Sarah, to my dear friends Lucas, Alicia, Tanya and Matt, to Lisa and Leanne, I cherish our time together. It would be remiss of me not to mention those who came before me. Lee Odenwalder, who was a member for Elizabeth for 16 years. His dedication to his community, his dedication to the community he grew up in is something I'll always admire. Thank you, Lee, for your service and constant support. I wish you and your family all the best. And to the member for 16 years prior to that, Lee Stevens, who sits in this gallery today, Madam Speaker. Lee was the first person to call me once I was pre-selected. We met and I immediately knew we shared the same passion for fighting for the North, the same love for our community and the same empathy. Thank you, Lee, for your support. Whilst I'm the youngest member in 2026, in 2022 I was the youngest advisor in the Malinowskis government. On my first team training in the Premier's office, the Premier shared a story. He had just met with Adelaide Thunderbirds, who were set to play a final on home ground. He asked Eleanor Cardwell whether she was nervous of the pressure of a home game. She responded with a saying that I've never forgotten. Pressure is a privilege. It's a saying that I know both the Premier and I have reflected on throughout the campaign. And I know there is no greater privilege than representing my community in a Malinowskis government. I cannot wait to see what we deliver for this government and what we will deliver for the North. The Father of the House, member for West Torrens, your advice and guidance throughout this past month has been invaluable. When I needed it most, you called and you listened. To Sonia Romeo for keeping me true to myself, for demonstrating how to be a brilliant leader, whilst also putting your family first. Thank you for always bringing women along with you. The Honourable Reggie Martin from the other place, and Senator Marielle Smith, and Labor Unity. You both know what unity means to me, a family away from home. To Don and Nympha, thank you for your support, thank you for showing up consistently. My federal colleagues, Matt Burnell, I love fighting for the North together. Claire Clutterham, thank you for hitting the doors with me. Sam McIntosh and the TWU and the broader Labor union movement across South Australia. To my state colleagues, Lucy, Zoe, Olivia, Rhiannon, Megan, James, John, Justin and Lawrence for your support throughout the campaign, whether it was on the doors or over the phone. To the Premier's office and old colleagues, to JB, Pam, Victoria, Min, Harry, Maddie, Rebecca, Kat, Wendy, Jack, Manny, Gemma, Jordan and David. To Chelsea Bishop, my absolute rock, not just during the campaign, but during the toughest moments. You're an outstanding advocate for working people and an impeccable best friend. You are my immediate speed dial, and I look forward to sharing so many more special moments together. My beautiful best friends, Adele, Emma, Lani and Meg, thank you for supporting me throughout a crazy 6 months and for always showing up. To May, Lydia, Matilda and Elliot, to work together with such intelligent, passionate women is an honour, but to call you friends is something special. To Jess, Cam, Cara, Rosie, Ryan, Daisy and Joel, Adelaide and Birdie, Jazz and Will, Ben and Lily, Jack and Elsie, Erin and Shannon, and the Burt girls. Thank you for your support. To Young Labor Unity, Eloise, your leadership has been remarkable to watch. I cannot wait to see you shine in whatever path you follow. Thank you to all the YLU team, to my YLU girls who helped throughout the campaign, to Georgia, Grace, Bonnie, Aware, Rachel and Kelsey. Working alongside you and sharing your successes fills me with pride. My federal friends and colleagues at NatSec and beyond, particularly Ben Rillo, who's here today. Thank you to Team Elizabeth, to Chantel, one of the strongest women I've ever met, a wealth of knowledge and a formidable mum. Lara, this is exactly where you were meant to be. I'm so blessed to have you by my side. Cody, an incredibly hard-working young man with a bright future ahead of him. To Billy, a trusted, loyal confidant. To Rachel, I can't wait to see what's next for you. Special thank you to Troy, Jacinto, Nathan, Brandon and Harley. To the whole Elizabeth sub-branch, thank you who volunteered. To Auntie Dav, Auntie Phoebes, Auntie Trace and Uncle Marv, Sue, Mark, Ali and Susan, for spending your Saturday in my community. My grandparents, Lynn, Davo, Frank, Roz and Bill. Whilst my parents returned to work, Ruby and I were often raised by them. From a switchboard operator at Telstra to working at Holden's, my grandparents taught me the value of hard work and that there is dignity in work. To my parents, Sandy and Bodge, our values started in a transportable on England Street. A warm home full of so much love. It's your kindness and passion, Mum, and your respect, integrity and loyalty, Dad, that I carry with me every day. To Ruby, my sister and best friend, always keeping me grounded as all good younger sisters do. I can't wait to watch you marry Grady, and I promise that this is the last political event you'll have to attend for a while. To the Uyghur family watching at home, who won the Elizabeth South booth on hard work and determination, thank you for always supporting me and for creating my favourite person in the world, Scott. Someone who just adores the limelight. Scott loves attention. He particularly loves working locally to fix a resident's sink, only to find one of my flyers on the kitchen bench with his face staring right back at him. Thank you for your unwavering support. You definitely didn't ask for any of this, and you rarely complain. Nothing we've ever endeavoured together has been easy, but we're always up for the challenge. Together we're a brilliant team. Loving you has changed the shape of my life, and I apologise in advance for more late nights and more cooking duties on barbecues. And finally, to Elizabeth, my home and my community. It is the greatest honour of my life to represent our community, to continue to fight for our North, to continue to deliver, to show up, to step up, to roll my sleeves up every day for our community. Now let's get to work.